Hello, my name is Gary and I'm one of the team of instructors who teach the IBEP, the International Bowhunters Education Programme for the British Bowhunters Association. Now, all our instructors have been trained by the master instructors from the European Bowhunters Federation, the EBF. Now, the EBF are a very important body of people, especially in the bow hunting world. These are the guys who have managed to get some form of bow hunting legalised in many countries, especially in Europe. Now, the British Bowhunters Association are working with the EBF to try and get some sort of bow hunting legalised here in the UK. The IBEP course is done in two parts. First of all is the theory test that you can go online, pass that, then contact the British Bowhunters Association and put your name down for the next practical day. Now, the practical day involves a shooting test, which is also done in two parts. Now, the shooting test for the compound bows, you'll be shooting a fixed blade broadhead, not a mechanical head, at a 6-inch target at 25 yards. You will have 5 arrows. 4 arrows must hit the 6-inch target, but more importantly, your very first arrow must hit the target. Now, if you miss that target with your first arrow, you will just walk away, probably go onto the practice range, do a bit of practicing, and then come back a couple hours later to do the test again. So, when you've passed the first part of the test, you're now going to use just a normal fill point, and you're going to shoot at 6 3D targets. You're going to use 7 arrows. You've got to get 6 kills with 7 arrows, so you can miss with 1 arrow. Now, these targets are possibly set out in woodland, and they're going to be set out from as close as 4 yards to a maximum of 30 yards. Now, when you're doing this test, you're going to be expected to put the arrow in the correct place. So we're not looking at you to shoot the actual target that's printed onto the 3D targets. That's for the tournament archers. We're looking at you to look at that 3D target as though it's a proper shooting situation and you're stalking through woodland, and you've got to put that arrow in the correct place so it would perform a humane kill. Now, if you don't manage to get the 6 kills with 7 arrows, you will have to just retake that second part of the test again later in the day if we've got time. So it's the day of the shooting test. So I'm going to put this video together because I'm going to show you how I build an arrow to come out my bow, which I can use just for practicing and also take it abroad to hunt with. Now, before we start, this is the bow I'm going to be using throughout the video. This is the bow I'm building the arrows for. I build the same arrow every time. It'll weigh 480 grains at the end of it, and it will be able to fire a broadhead and a field point accurately. Now, I will not be tuning the bow in this video. The bow is already tuned. So the cams are in time, the arrow rest is in the correct position, it's all set up. And the reason I know it's set up is because I can shoot a fletched arrow at 20 yards and I can shoot a bare shaft at 20 yards, and they will both fly to the same point of impact. And when they land in the target, they're both dead straight like that. So I know the bow is tuned. So I hope you enjoy the video, and right at the end what I will do is I will actually set out the shooting test course and actually shoot the course so I can take you through it step by step. So if you ever decide to come and do the IBEP test, you'll know exactly what you're up against on the day. Thank you. Okay, I'm just about to start building my own arrows. Now, the reason I do this is I want to shoot one type of arrow through one type of compound bow, and I want to be able to use them accurately for just target shooting, practicing 3Ds, things like that. And then I want to be able to unscrew that field point and put a fixed blade broadhead on. Now, this is a field point, weighs 125 grains. These are fixed blade broadheads. They also weigh 125 grains. As you can see, aerodynamically, that is much better than them. So to get these all to fly and zero at the same distance, I need to get an arrow and a bow tuned the best I can. So, quick rundown of the equipment I'm going to use. Arrow cutter, fletching jig, cleaning agent, glues. We've got a dozen arrows. They come with the nocks, the inserts, bit of sandpaper, cotton buds for cleaning, scales, pencil, tape measure, a jig for squaring the end of the arrows, vanes, vane stripper, Tipp-Ex, knife and an arrow spinner. And at the end of the process, hopefully, we'll be then in the field tuning the bow and the arrow together and getting the accuracy we want from both heads. Okay, we're just going to move on now to the next thing. That's to cut the arrows to size. I've just cut this one, checked it with the tape. I'm happy with that. The rest of the arrows are all lined up, so the front end I'm going to cut is all facing this way. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut them all down to size. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, this is the arrow squarer. Literally, you just lay the arrow on there, push it up against this surface and just rotate it. We just want to square the end of the arrow, so when we put the inserts in, or the other end, the nocks, we know the arrow is just dead square. Now, to make sure it is dead square, I've gone round it with a pencil, a white pencil. So we'll start grinding it with the arrow square until all that white's gone. We know it's dead square. I've done the same to the other end as well. Okay, I'm happy with that now. Just a little bit of white left, but it's on the very, very outer edge where I just caught it with a pencil. .277. .277.4. .277.4. 278.4. So you're getting the idea of this now. I should go all through these arrows, weighing all of them, that's in grains, and then I'll move on to actually weighing the inserts as well. Okay, so all the weighing's been done, weighed all the arrows, and I've never done it before. I also weighed the nocks, and I also weighed the inserts. Now, the arrows, the heaviest arrow was 278.8 grains, and the lightest arrow was 277.2 grains. So between 12 arrows, from the heaviest to the lightest, the difference was only 1.6 grains. The nocks all come in exactly the same. They were all 12.4 grains. The inserts, the heaviest was 45.6 and the lightest was 45.2. So 0.4 of a difference, nothing. But what I will do, I will put the lightest insert into the heaviest arrow and so on. It will just even them out a little bit more. The next stage we're going to do is just preparing them to glue the inserts in. Now, all I'm going to do is I've got an old rifle brush here. Just this end you're going to put the insert in, put that in, give it a bit of a run. It's just roughing it up inside to help the glue bond to it. And then I shall clean all the shafts inside with the cotton buds, just get all that dust out, and then we're ready for gluing them all in. So we're going to move on to the next phase now. Just going to get a bit of sandpaper, very fine. I'm just going to give it a couple of turns. This is just going to be where my flights are going to fit, just something for the glue to bond to. Give that a wipe. I'll just put a cotton bud in the end. Any excess dust, get the excess dust out. We're not putting glue in this end. This is just going to be for the knock. So that's done. Here's the knock. Just a push fit. Right, now to the other end. Like I said before, this is just a old rifle cleaning brush. Just get in there, loosen the rubbish up, all the dust, tap it out, and then this is acetone, a little bit of acetone. Don't leave this inside the arrows, literally just using it to help get the dust out. I'll spin the arrow, pull it out at the same time, get all that dust out so the glue can bond better. And I'll say, don't leave that acetone in, just literally dry it all out again. Dry the end. That's all ready then to glue the inserts in a bit. Now we're ready to glue the inserts into the ends of the arrows. They're all clean, they're all dry. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through this without actually putting the glue on. So it's a lot easier camera wise to do a close up without actually using the glue and getting my fingers stuck everywhere. So I've already made sure they fit into the shaft, so there's not going to be any problem there after I've got all the glue everywhere. So what I will do is probably put a line of glue down here and a line of glue down the other side. When I put it into the shaft, I will turn it just to get that glue all the way around till it bottoms out. Press it down, make sure it's bottomed down, wipe the excess glue off, and I will leave them overnight to set. Okay, so we're moving on to the next stage. Now, these arrows have been left to dry overnight. The inserts are all dry. The only thing I've done now is I've put a 125 grain field point in the end of the ones we're going to be shooting through paper. So, before we start, I know my bow is tuned. Now, the reason I know it's tuned and everything's working fine on it is because last week I shot this bear shaft at 20 yards. Now, the only reason this bear shaft has got tape round it, it's to bring it up to the same weight as one of my finished fletched arrows. That's the only reason the tape's there. So what I've done is I've shot this one at 20 yards, then I shot a bear shaft at it at 20 yards, and it landed as straight as that, about as close as that. So I know there's no problem with the tuning on my bow. Now, you'll come to this later, but I've got a little bit of Tipp-Ex on there, and it's dead in line with the index point on my nock. So if the nock ever falls out, I can put that nock straight back in to align it with that. Right. These are the bear shafts, what we're going to be shooting. Right now we've got a dozen of these to shoot through paper, so it's quite a long process. Now, the first thing I've done is my index point on the nock, and it's going to be sitting and the string's going to be running straight through there. That's going to be the top of the arrow. I'm going to stand quite close to the target with just this first arrow. That's all I need, is one arrow to discover which way my bow throws an arrow. Does it spin right or does it spin left? So I'll be probably standing only 4 or 5 foot away from the target. So I'm going to shoot this bear shaft at just a target, not through paper, and I want to see, when I get this bear shaft, is it rotated slightly to the right, or as it's rotated slightly to the left. Now, the reason I need to know this, I want to fit right-handed helical twist vanes on my arrows, which I've always done. So I want to make sure that this arrow is coming off the string with a right-hand spin. If, like Helen's bow, Helen's does shoot a left-hand spin. If this did the same and I fitted right-hand helical vanes, the arrow would naturally be coming off the bow spinning left and then having to correct itself, which you just don't want that situation occurring. So we're going to shoot 12 arrows through a sheet of paper, and we want that. Now, like I said before, I know my bow is tuned, so I'm not going to be moving arrow rests or anything like that to get that a bullet hole through paper. I will only be twisting the nock a quarter of a turn until I get that, because you may end up with this, that's nock low, nock left. You might have it the opposite way round. You might have it nock high. All I'm going to do is turn that nock quarter of a turn to get that. And when I've done it, I will do the same as this bear shaft and just put a bit of Tipp-Ex in line with the index point on the nock. Now, if you go all through the process of turning the knock, you've even tried moving your arrow rest, and you're still not getting that bullet hole, you may have to start looking that there may be a problem with your bow. The cams might be out of time, you might have something loose on the bow, it could be anything. If you really can't find it, I would advise you to go to an archery shop who really understand how to tune bows, because usually they can put the problem right in a quarter of the time that it'll take you to do it. I've just shot this arrow into the boss. I just wanted to check the rotation that the arrow comes off my string. Now, 2 years ago it came off the string naturally rotating to the right clockwise. Now it's rotating to the left, as you can see from the mark. The reason I presume this is happening is because a year ago I had a new custom string made and fitted to the bow. Now the way that string was made is possibly why now the arrow's coming off the string with a natural left hand rotation. That was the third shot. This just shows you the basic idea of paper tuning. First shot, then just rotate the knock a bit. Third shot, it's near enough there, and I think I just turned the knock not even quarter of a turn to that. Then I just tried it again there. So I'm happy really with them three. I'm not a competition shooter. I know my shooting form isn't fantastic, but if I can do this with a bare shaft, what I should do is put the Tipp-Ex onto the bare shaft now, just to mark that indexing point. Shoot probably all 12 arrows, and then probably tomorrow I might just take 1 or 2 shots with each arrow, just to definitely check it over and make sure I've got it right. Right, quite early in the morning, there's no wind. This is perfect for seeing how well this bare shaft flies. I don't know if you can see this or not. I've just wrapped some tape around the end of the arrow. That weighs roughly about 20 grains. So it's just really the same weight as what the fletchings are going to be when the arrow's completely built. So I'm going to shoot a fletched arrow at this one. All I want to see is how I want that arrow to fly dead straight, because when I fire this shaft I want to compare to make sure they're both at the same angle. Are they both dead straight? Is this one, because it's got no veins on, more at this angle or across to there? That's what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to go back to 20 yards now and fire 2 shafts. Okay, this is what I'm after. If you look, that first shaft, dead straight, it's got veins on, it's got to be straight. And the other one is not right. It's level, knock up or knock down is perfect, but it is not right. So I'm just going to turn that knock point again, just a fraction, to see if we can get out one flying straighter. Now I don't need to shoot the fletched arrow again, I should just leave that as it is. Right, as I said before, I'm not a competition archer, so my shooting form, it's not fantastic. I'm self-taught, but as you see, I've just moved that nock a bit, and it's certainly straightened that arrow up. So I'm just going one more shot, but I'm happy with that. Well, I'm happy with that outcome. Both arrows are now quite straight. Just for reference, this bit of paper is about 30mm, just under 30mm. So I'm happy with the accuracy. But more to the point, I'm happy with how that bear shaft is flying. So what I'm going to do now is tape all the rest of the arrows up the same. And also just remember, now I've just turned the nock, I've got to just scrape that bit of Tipp-Ex off on the side of the arrow, put another Tipp-Ex mark in line with the indexing point. So we're nearly at the end now. We've shot all the bear shafts at 20 yards. We're happy with the accuracy. One arrow, I did have to change the nock a little bit. I had to rotate it about a quarter to get it flying right. What I ended up doing is rolling some quite stiff paper, wrapping it in electrical tape and sliding that on the end of each arrow, and just put a little bit of tape around the end of it to attach it to the shaft. So I use that same one. Now what that does, that's roughly 20 grains, the same weight as the vanes that are going to go on. Now, as you know, I'm waiting for a fletching jig to finish it, but I have 3 arrows made up from my last batch. They do have the right hand helical twist on. I'm now waiting for a left-handed jig, but I thought, it's such a nice day, not much wind, I am going to shoot a field point, 2-bladed broadhead, and also a 3-bladed broadhead. Just see what the accuracy is like, although the arrows have the wrong fletching on them. It's been a few hours now since I took them first 3 shots, so I'm just going to do another 3 shots. Field point on the left, 2-blade broadhead in the middle, 3-blade broadhead on the right. Field point. Blade and grit paper, Okay, so we're nearly at the end of the build, just the fletchings to fit later. So all the components were weighed and matched up accordingly. So over a build of 12 arrows, we've got the lightest arrow coming in at 460.2 grains and the heaviest coming in at 460.4 grains, 0.2 of a grain difference. Now, this is an arrow I made approximately 2 years ago. Comes in at 480 grain. If you remember, we made this little sleeve to fit over the end of the arrow that added another 20 grains on. That allows for the fletchings. So when these are fletched up, they're all going to come in 480 grains. Okay, we're on to about the last process now, that's fitting the vanes. This is the arrow jig I would have used, but it's a right hand helical. I'm waiting for the left hand helical one to come. So I'm just going to run through all this with you, just so you got a good understanding how I flex your arrows up. So this jig will actually do 3 vanes all at once. So it's just spring loaded, push it up, open it out. What you're going to do, the light coloured one is going to be where your cock vane goes. Your cock vane is the one when you've got your arrow indexed on your string. The cock vane I shoot on the top, and that's over exaggerated, but it's going to be at an angle like that. Well, when the new jig comes, like that. So the cock vane drops in there, and then we've got 2 white vanes that drop in there. Right, what I'll do now is we'll put the glue just down there. Now, a good little tip here, so you don't get excess glue running off everywhere. It usually runs to this point here. I usually put just a little bit of Vaseline on there, and it just stops the glue sticking. So get all the vanes in position. This is like a little V on the back of the vanes. What you want to do is just slightly fill that up with glue. Don't want it all running out everywhere, just enough to cover that area, and do the same on the other. So when you got the glue in, I'm going to insert the arrow. So the knocking point, I want the knocking point, it's going to be over here. Now this arrow will drop on there like that. That's in position. Now what I will do then is give it a spray of this, which is an accelerator to help the glue off faster. Soon it's in that position, I literally push the spring loaded thing up, down, clamps all the vanes in place, and then just this bit here slides over the end of the arrow all the way down in place. That's it. Leave it like that to go off. It'd be gone off in about 3 minutes, something like that. And that's how you quickly put 3 vanes on an arrow. Right, a couple of minutes has gone by, so they're glued up. Open the jig out, push it up, turn it, done. Now, final thing to do, which I always do, is the cotton buds, just wipe off the excess glue all the way around. Then I'll apply just a spot of glue on the front where the vane meets the shaft, and also on the back. It just helps it if you shoot it into a target, you just don't want that starting to peel up, or it just peels your vanes off. Okay, we're just going to do a quick spin test on the broadhead, just to make sure the broadhead is sitting absolutely square on the insert and there's no wobble. We're going to do exactly the same spin test now with the big 2-blade broadhead. As you know, I'm waiting for another fletching jig like this one to turn up. Now, this jig is for small diameter arrows, and I've put in a full helical twist on. But while I'm waiting, I found this jig out of Ellen's. Now, you have to adjust this one yourself. to get the vanes sitting correctly on there, but it is for left hand helical. So it's more or less the same. I've marked there where I want the back of the vane to go to, like that. Now this one is actually magnetic, so after you put the glue straight down the centre, and the trouble with this one is it is a little bit more fiddly, but it does seem to be more precise, and it only does one vane at a time. So now I've fletched 2 arrows up with left hand helical spin. So these are the two broadheads we've been using in the test. I'm going to shoot them again at 20 yards and a bit of paper about 30mm square. Then just for the fun, I will then shoot a small game head. What they use a lot abroad for shooting birds and things like that. Now this is the interesting one. This is a broadhead I used last year. Now it's a single bevel, a right-handed single bevel. If I flick it over, you see it's not beveled on the opposite side. Now this is a right-handed single bevel. It will spin as it goes through the air. Last year I was shooting vanes right-hand helical. It matches with the broadhead. Just for fun today, I'm going to shoot that at 20 yards as well, but the broadhead is going to be turning clockwise and the vanes are going to be trying to turn it back anti-clockwise. So we'll see how the accuracy is at 20 yards. Three blade, just slightly off. Two blade. So that was quite interesting. This is a small game head. I did actually pull that a fraction, but that's not far out at 20 yards. Then this one actually slit the paper. And that was a single blade broadhead. Single bevel, sorry. Yards again, left hand helical twist, fill point, hit the paper, and another fill point hitting the paper. Okay, we're on the range this morning. We've got the German Kinetic broadhead and also a 3-blade broadhead. We're going to be shooting these at 50 yards. These are two of the arrows I've made and fletched. So let's see what the accuracy is like. 3-blade broadhead, probably 1.5 inches from centre. And a big German kinetic, that's probably 2 inches from centre, that's at 50 yards. So this is your first part of your shooting test. This is 5 6-inch discs at 25 yards for compound bows, and you'll be using a fixed blade broadhead. You won't be allowed to use a mechanical head. You have 5 arrows, 4 arrows must hit the target. Your first arrow must hit. Okay then, so you stepped up to the 25-yard line. You've got 5 arrows with fixed blade broadheads on. You're going to nominate which target to shoot at, and you can shoot all the arrows at one target, or you can split the shots up. It's entirely up to you. So you step up to the target, up to the line, and your first arrow goes there. Right, afraid that's a fail. This first arrow must hit the target. So you just go back to the practice range, calm down, take a few shots, then a bit later on come back, try again. Now, if all goes well, you nominate this target or whichever one you want, your first arrow hits. Now, all you've got to do now is get another 3 arrows in the targets. And that's going to leave you 1 spare arrow. So we're moving on now to the second part of the shooting test. This is going to be shot just with your field points, so make sure you've removed your broadheads before you come in the woodland. When you come in here, bring with you your binoculars, range finders, whatever you usually use in a hunting situation. Now these targets can vary to a maximum out to 30 yards. We're looking to place an arrow in the target that's going to give it the most humane kill. We're not looking to aim at the target spots that are on these 3D targets. That's for competition shooters. We want you to look at each target like it's a real life situation and shoot it accordingly. So this is the first target. It's a pheasant at about 5 yards. As you should see now, that's just dead centre body for a pheasant. You know, that's a humane kill. So this is the next target I've come across in the woodland. This is a stag at 30 yards. More or less absolutely broadside onto me. I will walk down to this target, but I'll just zoom in. Like I said, don't look at that actual target that's marked out on there. So as you can see on this shot, on the crease, mid body, that sort of shot we're looking for. So as you can see, It's quite realistic when you're shooting in this woodland. What we've got here is a fox, I think it's a fox, at about 24-25 yards. And what I'll do is I'll shoot this one off my knees, because one of the targets you may be shooting at will be from a pop-up ground hide or from a chair. So what we're looking for is you to be able to draw your bow straight back with a minimum of movement to take a shot like this. We'll just zoom in. So as you can see, I've just shot this target from about 24-25 yards. From the angle I've shot it, it is slightly quartering away. So you can see this arrow is just behind the legs, sort of rear ribs. I've just laid this arrow on top so we can actually see where it would have come out the opposite side. It's just slightly out, but as you can see, if that arrow had come straight through, it would have come straight through out on the shoulder. So heart and lungs. So on this target, it's another 30-yard shot, but it's quite a big target. I've just zoomed in a little bit just so you can actually see it, because there's quite a bit of undergrowth. Okay, this is a target that we wouldn't actually put out on the IBP course. It's steeply angling towards me and it looks like a wild boar, but in a real hunting situation, sometimes you may need to get another arrow in an animal. Now, this is the perfect example. It's backed in thick cover, it's near enough facing me, but there is a slight angle to get another arrow in front of the shoulder into the base of the neck, and then the arrow would carry on through the chest cavity. So the first thing you notice when we're moving in on this target, it's not a big boar, it's just a piglet. That's why you do need to bring your binoculars and study the target in case it throws your range out. And as you see, from the angle it was shot at, that would have worked perfectly as a second shot. Front of shoulder, angled back, would have gone out behind the opposite leg, straight through the chest cavity. This is just another practice target, angling towards me, so got the arrow very tight onto the shoulder. This is another small target. This is just a range of about 14 yards. Well, that's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. When I first started the video, I really just setting out to video how I build an arrow. Plenty of ways how other people build the arrows, that's just the way I did it. Then as the video progressed, I just thought, well, let's get the IBP course into this as well. So I hope you enjoyed a bit of shooting at the end at the 3D range. I must admit it went a bit to pot on the 3D range because I was trying to pick decent targets to show perfect shot placement, but when you carry the video camera around, the bow and everything else, in the end I more or less just shot every target however it appeared. So that's the way I did it. But if you want to have a weekend, the British Bow Hunters Association, we put on a couple of weekends a year, so you can shoot about 33D targets around the course. Also there's a practice range, and we'll even set up a practice IBP shooting test. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.